Hi everyone, my name is Ronald Allen De Castro and I will be reporting about administrative provisions. So here we go, I'm going to start my report. Administrative provisions. Section 1. Base Service Section or Equivalent Office. The Base Service Section is in charge of boarding formalities and the entrance and clearance of foreign vessels. It supervises and implements security measures in the discharging or loading of import and export shipments as well as to incoming or outgoing crew, passengers, and visitors on board such vessels. The base service section shall be headed by a chief who shall have direct supervision and control over personnel therein. He shall issue instructions to the customs senior boarding officer and who shall in turn be held responsible for the proper execution of the instructions given from the time to time and to render reports. Section 2. The uniforms and insignia or the Pierce and Inspection Division. So the Chief Base Service Section, Customs Senior Boarding Officer, Customs Inspectors, Customs Guard, and Wharfingers shall always wear the appropriate and prescribed uniform, insignia, nameplate, custom badge, black shoes, and regulation cap. Section 3. The duties and responsibilities of Customs Operations Officer will be the Customs Senior Boarding Officer shall have the following duties and responsibilities. So first, board incoming foreign vessels outside the breakwater or harbor unless prevented by stress of weather. When boarding a vessel, the Customs Senior Boarding Officer shall be assisted by the Customs Inspector assigned on the vessel. Then, during boarding formalities, only the Customs Senior Boarding Officer and the Customs Inspector shall be allowed to enter the captain's cabin unless the captain chooses to give the boarding information to the Customs Senior Boarding Officer outside the captain's cabin. Second, obtain the master of vessels the necessary information as required in the BOC of PM from number 15. And then 3. Seal sea stores in the presence of ship's officers and the customs inspector assigned on board. And then 4. See to it all customs inspector and customs guard on duty are in their proper prescribed uniforms unless the customs inspector are properly in uniform. The customs senior boarding officer shall not allow their embarking on the launch and shall report them in absence. In such cases, he can assign any available unassigned customs inspector or if no customs inspector is available, an acting customs inspector to take charge of the vessel until a regular customs inspector assigned reports in proper uniform. 5. See to it that customs inspector or customs guard assigned to a vessel is provided with the necessary stationery and supplies. He shall also see to it that customs inspector have a copy of the tariff and customs code of the Philippines and a manual part of the operations. And then next will be the report of customs senior boarding officers. First, upon his return from an official trip in the bay, the customs senior boarding officer shall transmit to the chief base service section or its equivalent office all reports, entries, and other documents delivered to him by the master, agent, or the customer inspector assigned on board. Second, he shall prepare and submit his trip report on VOC OPM form number 15 or the requisite vessel boarded to the chief base service section or its equivalent office and make reports of any deviation from the assignment order issued to the customs inspectors and customs guard. And then the section 4 are the duties and responsibilities of customs operations officer or the customs inspector. So they will be here, customs inspector shall have the following duties and responsibilities like first, supervise the discharge and loading of cargo and to supervise continuous surveillance to protect the interests of the customs service pursuant to section 2202 of the Tariff and Customs Code of the Philippines as amended. Second, be responsible for the proper disposal of all cargo and stores on board vessels under their charge. It is their duty to see that no cargo or stores of any description are discharged from or received on the vessel without authority from the Collector of Customs or his authorized representative. Third, represent the Customs Service in his official relations with the passengers. ships officers, owners, agent, and consignees, and should see to it that the dignity of the service is not impaired. Fourth, stay in the vessel to which he has been assigned until he is relieved by proper authority, except as hereinafter provided or it be necessary in the interest of the service that immediate action be taken. And then, are nor any request or permit of any description only from the following named officials. So, the Commissioner of Custom or the Deputy Commissioner of Customer, and then the Collector of Customs or the Deputy Collector for Operations, and then the Chief or the Assistant Chief, Pearson Inspection Division, and then the Base Service Station, and then the last is the Custom Senior Boarding Officer. So, number six, endeavor to work in the harmony of all the times with the custom employees of other division and with the immigration officer on board with respect of the enforcement of immigration laws, rendering assistance to the officials in the performance of their duties in the cause of Philippine registered vessels returning from abroad, conduct mustering of crew pursuant section 1011 of the Tariff and Customs Code of the Philippines as amended. So, the specific duties upon assuming charge of vessel. First, it shall be the first duty of a customs inspector upon assuming charge of vessel, especially a passenger vessel, to immediately assign a custom guard at each accommodation ladder or gangway with the instruction not to allow persons to board the vessel without a written pass, excepting the stevedores to attend to the discharging or loading cargoes. Second, the customs inspector shall instruct the customs guards assigned on the gangway to conduct body searches, if necessary, on all persons boarding or disembarking from the vessel. Third, while the vessel is docked at the pier of wharf, the customs inspector shall make periodic inspection to ascertain that all ropes and cables from vessel to dock are provided with the raft guards and the adequate safeguards are employed, such as the covering of the holes through which ropes and cable pass. And then the last, if the vessel is docked at night, the customs inspector shall require proper lighting at the gangway. And then the relationship of customs inspector with customs guard under his supervision. So first, the customs inspector shall see to it that the customs guards assigned on the vessel are complete uniform and present a neat and clean appearance. And then also he shall report to the customs senior boarding officer in duty the unexplained absence of any customs guard assigned to him. The third, an efficiency report for the customs guard shall be submitted by the customs inspector for each vessel or each who is in charge. And then he shall also maintain a logbook to keep a record of events during his tour of duty, to include customs guard or guards sent ashore or to another vessel on official business, specifying the following. First is the galley accomplice inspector certificate of lading in case of breakboat and conventional cargoes. And then shipside permits, if any, properly endorsed at the back thereof with accompanying transfer notes and customs guards check report. And then accomplice certificate of inspection or the certificate of identification and loading, if any. And then the fourth, certificate of date of last cargo discharge accomplished by the customs inspector on board and bearing the seal of the master of the vessel, to be submitted to the office of the chief, Pierce and Inspection Division or its equivalent office. Fifth, if the clearance of the vessel indicating that in the time of the date the vessel actually sails and the berth assignment and the period of the time the vessel stays at such berths and or anchorage for transmittal to the customs clearance officer. And then six, general permit issued by the customs senior boarding officer, properly endorsed at the back of thereof. And then the last, all the shipping documents required from the master upon boarding a vessel, permits properly endorsed, and reports of violation of customs rules and regulations that may come into this attention. And then all the permits, entries, and their documents received by the customs inspector on board of a vessel shall be endorsed by him upon completion of his portion of the action directed. Such endorsement shall always show first, the date when the action was accomplished, second, the action taken, and the third, the portion of the action accomplished, except in some instances where another custom official is to perform the unaccomplished action. Then the date of the time of receipt of any document shall always be noted therein by the customs inspector who shall initial the same. And then the section 5, port utilization section. So the port utilization section supervises the receiving, handling, custody, monitoring, movement, and release of shipments at the Pierce Customs Zone. So the port utilization section shall be headed by a chief who shall perform the following function. First is to supervise all the wharfingers, or the assistant wharfinger, customs guards, or the container yards, and then second, act on all written reports submitted by the personnel under his supervision. Third, be responsible for the conduct. Fourth, require all the wharfingers assistant, and then fifth is to assign his personnel properly, apportioning the overtime as equitable and as fairly as possible. And then 6, exercise direct supervision over customs gatekeepers. And then 7, inspect piers, wharves, warehouses, container freight, and the container terminal inside the customs zone as frequently as possible. And then submitting to the chief piers inspection or each equivalent office such reports as may be necessary. And then 8, see to it that the cargoes are transferred properly and promptly to bonded carriers. Then recommend to the chief piers and the inspection or each equivalent office for the interest of the service and with conciliation with the wharfingers in charge of the piers, and then supervise the wharfingers in the preparation, routing, and submission to the chief of division the performance routing personnel under them, and then recommend any personnel who are deserving, capable, and willing pursuant to civil service rules and regulations for any promotion that are subject to be filled up. And then the last will be the implement all lawful orders given to him from time to time by proper customs authorities with regard to his section. So the next will be the section 6, which is the duties and responsibilities of assistant customs operation officer or the wharfingers. At the pier or the CY, the CFS, there shall be one wharfinger in charge of each pier, who shall be responsible for the efficiency and discipline of custom personnel under him. And then he shall exercise effective supervision over the arrastere constructor's service regarding receiving, handling, custody, and delivery of cargoes. And then he also shall note carefully the condition of the fender post and draft at the piers and submit reports thereon. And then the wharfingers also shall note carefully the condition of the fender post and draft at the piers and submit reports thereon. Also, he also shall cooperate and assist other officers to the government performing officials' functions at the piers. Also, he also shall supervise the cleaning and the piers and see to it that garbage and obnoxious cargoes are disposed of promptly and properly. And then, also outside the CYFS of the off dock, there will be also one wharfinger in charge there, who shall be responsible for the efficiency and discipline of custom personnel under him. Also, the work of this shall receive the transfer note, inbound container, and inward foreign manifest from the customs guard. He also shall supervise the stripping of the containers. And then he also shall process delivery permits and other types of custom permits via RDB, the official receipt statement of settlement of duties and taxes. And then he shall to see that the cargoes are released and delivered only to the proper parties in accordance with the marks, countermarks, and registry number of the carrying vessel. He also shall assign a custom guard, prepare and sign transfer note, as well as supervise the transfer cargoes for the local economic zone and bounded warehouse, either inside or outside custom zone, including coastwise transit cargoes and other places designated by custom. And then the last, he shall report to the collector of custom within 24 hours from the time the article is deemed abandoned and submit a monthly report on abandoned or overstaying cargoes to the office, the chief, or the Pierce Inspection or its equivalent office. So Section 7, it's all about duties and responsibilities of assistant customs operation. So first, each cargo shed or the warehouse shall be under the direct charge and supervision of an assistant wharfinger who shall maintain his office inside the warehouse. He shall prepare the rate and submit rating of his pier shed warehouse customs guards to the wharfinger in charge of pier. Then, he shall not allow an unauthorized person inside a cargo shed or warehouse with or without operation. If he shall possess all delivery permits pertaining to his warehouse before authorizing delivery or cargo therefrom. He shall also supervise closely the activities of customs guard assigned on his warehouse. He shall clear the pier, berth of lighters and other obstructions during the berthing and or departure of vessels. And then, the last, he shall coordinate with the arrastre or shed warehouse security personnel of the Enforcement and Security Service or the ESS. And then, he shall perform all functions that may be assigned to him from time to time by superior authorities. And then Section 8 is about duties and responsibilities of Assistant Custom Operator or the Customs Guard. The Customs Guard shall see to it that no inflammable, dangerous, and obnoxious cargoes are discharged on the dock without proper permit. Secondly, when assigned to delivery work, he shall scrutinize the delivery permit properly processed and assigned by the processing wharfinger. He also shall check carefully the load on the truck against the gate pass issued in the accordance with the mark, countermarks, registry number, and total number of packages. He shall see to it that deliveries made are duly recorded on the Customs Guard delivery sheet. He also shall see that the wharfinger copy of the delivery permit is retained and the same to be forwarded to the wharfinger concerned upon the completion of the delivery. And then also, when assigned as induction guard, he shall see to it that the cargo destined for transfer reaches its destination safely and the covering transfer note properly signed by the warehouseman or the storekeeper or wharfinger or customs guard concerned as the case may be. And then let's go to the onboard vessel. So a customs guard shall see it that no person is allowed to board the vessel without a written pass excepting the speed doors to attend the discharging or loading or of cargoes at each accommodation ladder or gangway. He shall conduct body searches if necessary on all persons coming in and out the vessel. He shall perform customs surveillance on board the vessel or carriers containing cargo in transit that has not been released from the customs supervision. Also, he shall check cargoes being discharged from or loaded on the vessel. He shall act as carriers on vessels and he shall see that empty lighters alongside here without proper permit. Then the Section 9, Duties and Responsibilities of the Assistant Operator Officer. A custom gatekeeper shall report punctually at the terminal gate assigned to him, shall remain there until proper relief or otherwise directed to perform duties and supervision. And then, as you can see here, that is all his duties to do until here. The custom gatekeeper assigned the execution shall be prepared, open entries with their indeed empty shall keep records of provide permits issued and report the presence to the office wharfinger in charge. And then, in the Section 10, reporting time of custom personnel. Also, the Section 11 meals and accommodation for designated custom inspector and customs guards. So it talks all about the onboard vessel, the to output ports travel expenses, and then the Section 12, the leave of absence. It is an application for vacation leave shall be filed and approved. before such leave of absence is enjoyed by an officer or employee unless prevented by unforeseen circumstances beyond his control. Application for sick leave shall be filed within 2 days after return to duty, and in excess of 3 days shall be supported by a medical certificate. So that would be my report about the administrative pro- provision. That's all. Thank you.